Well, there's one thing I think that unites all of us silver and gold stackers, and that's our lack of faith in cash. But at the end of the day, cash is still very important in this world. And I've got a story today about how it can be quite difficult to get cash out of a bank. This world is, I think, scared of cash right now. And gold and silver might just very well be the solution that we're all looking for. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a very warm welcome to you all joining me for another Precious Metal Ramble. Now, today's ramble is inspired by 365 Days of Silver, who is another British silver tuber. There's a link down in the description to his channel. Go and show him some love by subscribing. He shared a really interesting video that was all about his struggle to get cash out of his bank. And not really because there's a run on the banks happening and they don't have the money, they just didn't have the cash in their branch. And I thought that was really interesting, so I reached out to him and shared a little bit of a story that I've got to tell. And he said I have to share it. So with his blessing, we're going to talk today about an experience I had getting cash out of the bank, my kind of tactics, I suppose, going in, the story of it. And then I'm going to relate that all back to silver and gold and sort of being your own bank and maybe not needing to go to the bank to get the cash out. Because 365 Days of Silver had some quite strong opinions on that subject of being his own bank and why it's important to him to have that silver and gold. And I have to say, with all the love and respect in the world to a fellow stacker, I disagree. And I think that having gold and silver isn't going to be quite as practical as perhaps giving 24 hours notice to go to a bank and get some cash. But that is what we shall ramble on about today. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions as we go throughout the video. It'd be great to hear them. So make sure to go down to that comment section and comment. And if you're enjoying the video, do hit a like. And if you're not subscribed, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying. So, cash. We both love and hate it, don't we, as silver stackers? One of the reasons that we all buy silver is to hedge against the value of this stuff and the inflation of this stuff as well. And being your own bank is one of the big kind of, it's the mantra really of silver stacking, isn't it? Take that money out of the financial systems, have it in your control. You can do with it what you want, be your own bank. And that's great, that's fine. But the impracticalities of that do sit with me not that well. Like, going to the shops and buying something with a kilo of silver, just not going to happen. Maybe taking it to a coin dealer, coin shop, selling it for physical cash. Yeah, definitely possible. But my experience is that most pawnbrokers, cash, the cash isn't necessarily in great supply for those. And if you take in, a couple of gold coins, 3-4 gold coins and try and get £5,000-6,000-7,000 in physical hard fiat cash from them, there's a good chance they won't have that cash in stock right there and then. They, like you, might have to go to the bank and try and withdraw that cash. A lot of transactions now are done digitally, of course. You just do debit card transactions or bank transfers. You don't necessarily need to have these physical banknotes in society as much anymore. And that's what I think is fueling a lot of the issues with regards to 365 Days of Silver's story, and to some extent the story I'm about to tell. So, my story is that I wanted to get £4,500 out of the bank. Now, what that money was for is, quite frankly, none of your business, even in this camera, let alone the bank's business. But, needless to say, it was for some precious metal purchases. That said, I wasn't really that comfortable saying that kind of thing to a bank, and quite frankly, they don't need to know either. I'm free, and we're in a free society and at liberty to do whatever I want with my cash. So anyway, I did a little bit of research before I went down to the bank's branch, and on the bank's website, which is a major high street bank, by the way, and I'm not going to, like 365, I'm not going to name the bank itself. But like 365, they, like other banks, they have limits on how much cash they can dispense from their branches. And on this particular bank's website, they are able, they say, to give £5,000, up to £5,000 on the same day for walk-ins. And if you need more than that, you need to give them some notice. So I think it's like a day's notice for up to 20,000 and 3 days notice for over 20,000. So I thought, well, okay, that's fine. I can just go in. So I went in the morning, And I had all of my little bits of ID and everything ready just in case they needed that as well. And went to the front of the desk. And like 365 Story, there's loads of other machines and the people that try and direct you to those machines. But I said, look, I need to withdraw a larger amount than my daily allowance on the debit card. And they said, okay, fine. Yeah, so off I went to the teller. And so when I got to the front and said, I'd like to withdraw £4,500, they were pretty sheepish about it. They were saying, oh, well, perhaps you should give us, we need some notice. We don't carry, that much cash in the branch these days. And I sort of politely said, well, look, it does say on your website, £5,000 maximum just for walk-ins. I need that cash now. And then they started asking me all about what the cash was for. And, I'm a private person and I don't really want to, in the middle of a bank with other people in the bank, say, I'm going to buy some precious metals with it. That's, there's privacy and everyone's entitled to their privacy. And the bank, quite frankly, doesn't need to know. And also, I said out loud to them, I said in a very politeful and respectful way, I said, I don't really want to disclose why I need this cash. And it's my prerogative to have my cash. And if I want to just get all the cash out and sit in the bathtub with it and play Scrooge McDuck, that's my prerogative. And she kind of grinned and giggled a little bit about that. And I think she's probably had similar experiences from people in the past that, push back and go, look, I don't really want to tell you, quite frankly. But their excuse is that they have a duty to protect their customers. Now, they're saying they have a duty to protect their customers, but it's a load of baloney. Like, quite frankly, it's just like they're worried about getting their own money taken away when a customer comes back to them and says, I've been scammed. And I get that, but it's like it's really inhibiting normal banking and normal ways that people go about banking. So what I had to do was fill out this giant questionnaire, which took about 10-15 minutes with this lady, and she was asking me all these silly questions about, have I been asked to withdraw cash and put it in another account to assist a police investigation, or have I been instructed to move the money to protect it from scam, all this, like, have I had a solicited phone call from somebody, all of these questions. And it's like, no, I just want my money out. I'm just a legitimate person that just wants to have my cash. I need my cash, give me my cash. Eventually we got through all of that and they basically subsided from it. At one point I was like, do we really have to go through all of this? I just want my cash. And if you're going to tell me no at the end of this, quite frankly, that's not on. I want my cash. And if I don't get it, then I'm going to make a bit of a song and dance in this branch that I can't get my cash. And that's not going to be good for anyone. Again, I was trying to do this in a really kind of polite and respectful way. I didn't want to be antagonistic. I didn't want to didn't want them to call the bloody police or anything. You just want your money at the end of the day. But you're in your rights. You're within your rights. It's pushing your rights within that sort of boundary of being polite. So anyway, eventually we got there. And the most fascinating thing happened at the end. So I was not leaning over to see, but I was sort of leaning on the counter. And banks have changed these days. They used to, of course, be behind those sort of bulletproof glass screens and everything, but they don't really keep very much cash on premises now. So they literally just had a desk that you can kind of, lean up against or sit up against, and they've got a screen there, and they turn the monitor to you so you can see all of your account details and everything. And when she then finally sort of processed the document, scanned it in and everything, and then pressed the cash withdrawal button, basically, I saw flash up on the screen their cash reserves in branch, and it was £6,900. They had a little counter of how many £50 notes they had, how many £20 notes they had, and so on. 6,900 in reserves only. Now, I didn't say anything because I just wanted the cash and to get out of there, quite frankly. I'd been in that bank for nearly half an hour already, and I just wanted to get out. But I found that fascinating. £6,900, and this was about 10 in the morning. And they say to customers online that you can come in and have £5,000 to, per day. What if two people came in wanting £5,000? That's not going to happen, is it? So it definitely got me thinking. First of all, it's probably quite uncommon that people need to have that much cash withdrawn at any one time. So that's what the banks are sort of relying on. If I had been maybe that second person, they didn't have the reserves there. Of course, they do have all of the different machines within there that are essentially cash machines where you've got cash in there. So their entire holdings wasn't £6,900. They'll have 30, 40, 50,000 in each cash machine, and they have 3 or 4 of them in there. So they have other money, but you can't necessarily take it out of those machines without just using your debit card to take cash out. So that was, I think, quite interesting. And I think it's quite telling of how quickly potential bank runs and panic can happen. Because let's be quite honest, if you have more than one person come in that day and they can't get their money, and that's a big thing. And if somebody goes in and starts moaning, I sort of half semi-threatened to sort of sit there and moan about it, but they were still going to give me my money at the end of the day, so I wasn't that upset. But there are probably going to be some people who would be upset, or some people who really needed that money immediately. I was going to go and buy some precious metal. It's not the end of the world if I had to delay it a couple of days, but I still wanted to push them and get my cash out. So I thought that was interesting, and it does spell to me that we're in such a fragile world right now that we really could see a big run on money, physical cash. Now, the whole question of being your own bank with the gold and silver, it's good in that you don't have to rely on the bank on that day, but I think it's a fundamentally flawed argument, as I said earlier, about going in and trying to sell this stuff. Unless you've got someone you know that's got those cash reserves, maybe you ring up a couple of shops and say, look, I'm looking for cash. Have you got 5,000 in cash? I can bring in some gold. Yeah, maybe then that will work. But again, it's not as flexible as I think a lot of people really appreciate. And we're not even going to mention the fact that if you just wander into any old pawn shop and you try and sell a couple of gold coins, then it will probably end up being quite a bad price that you're going to get on the day. At the end of the day, these shops, these coin shops, pawn shops, whatever you do, wherever you go, they're not charities. They're not a bank that give you access to your money as to what the money is worth on that day. They're there to make a profit, and unfortunately that's going to come at your expense. So from my perspective, I don't really see it being a sort of physical bank that you can get access to super easy, super quick. Instead, I like to think of the gold and silver that I have as this sort of asset protection material. So if I needed some extra cash to fund the purchase of a car, or my boiler's broken and I need £1,000 or more to make it right, there is, in my opinion, nothing wrong with selling a gold coin to one of the online dealers or selling it online myself, cash in the bank the next day, go down to the bank, get the cash out. Now, if you've got a bank that's got restricted allowances of getting cash out, give them a bit of notice, get your cash out, pay your boiler man, or pay the cut for the car in person. That's how I view this stuff. It's not that you go to the dealership on the day with the gold coin and say, will you take this? Look, this coin here is worth £2,000. I'll buy that car for £2,000 with this gold coin. They're not going to take that. They're not going to be able to take that. There might be a couple of gold bugs in this world that might do that, but generally speaking, 99.9% of all businesses out there would be like, yeah, no, thanks, bye-bye. So it's not a practical solution. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just a different way of handling it, and being your own bank in that regard. We're unfortunately reliant on banks to get cash out from society. You've got to think about it in the same way as it's yourself getting the cash. Like, businesses don't just sit there with tens of thousands of pounds worth of cash. Some might, but generally speaking, that's not what happens. Cash goes into the banks most of the time every day from businesses. So yeah, that's my experience of getting cash out from a bank. I'm always wary now of if I needed to. This was about, by the way, this was not recent, as in a couple of weeks ago. This story of mine is a couple of years old. It was just before COVID, so early 2020. I don't really know exactly how different that would be going into the bank now, because everything's, of course, radically different from how it was. But one thing I can say, and I've experienced and seen, that there are branches of banks, big high street banks, closing all over the shop, and it's getting harder to bank in the traditional sense. But I don't view that as a real major problem, because at the end of the day, cash is one of these sort of archaic things in society. Will it ever completely disappear? I think not soon, but eventually it will. Will it be easier in the world when we have central bank digital currencies? Ooh, that's a hot topic for some people. Yeah, it'll be so much easier. Of course it will. Then you can have access to as much of your cash in the digital form as you like. It's I think natural progression of where we are in the world, and people's moaning about the fact that you wouldn't necessarily be able to buy precious metals because the government can control everything you buy. It won't happen, and not in our lifetimes. And is it really a bad thing for governments to tax or put extra restrictions on all those illegal things that people buy with cash these days? No, it's not. So it's one of those swings and roundabouts things. Am I bothered about it? No. Do I think I'm going to continue stacking gold and silver? Of course I am. I really do think this stuff has versatility, has more flexibility than perhaps cash does, holds its value better than cash. Is it easier to use in a society right now? No, cash is much easier to use. Is it harder to get hold of? I'd argue cash is fairly easy to get hold of. You just need to have a bit of pre-planning. And perhaps if the bank is a pretty awful bank that doesn't allow you to take a lot of money out, another little trick that I've employed, because it's not often you need more than £1,000 cash a day. I have multiple different bank accounts, multiple different current accounts, multiple accounts with debit cards from the same banks as well. So right now, if I needed to, I could go out to a single cash point, and using that single cash point with about the 6 or 7 cards that I've got, I could get at least £2,000 out in cash right now. That's not difficult. So I don't mean this like... So I know 365 will probably have watched this video all the way through. So like my other ramblers listening to the 16th minute of a video, I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, my friend, because I really do appreciate your video and it was really inspiring, hence why I reached out to you, hence why I'm filming today's video. There are fundamental differences and opinions that we all have in this world, and I think it's only fun to have that healthy debate about them. So I don't feel in the same sort of way as maybe yourself does about being that own bank and the liquidity and flexibility of gold and silver as a cash-related asset, but I think we can both agree that cash is difficult to get hold of in certain circumstances, and gold and silver might be a better solution in terms of sell things, get money, and use that money to do other things. That's my thoughts and opinions. So all good in love and war, I say, isn't it? And hopefully 365 will comment down below with his thoughts. And again, if you are watching to this last end of the video and you're my Rambling Society members, then he's a really talented YouTuber. He's coming along really fast with his channel growth, and he'll be up in the tens of thousands, 20s of thousands, and perhaps even rivaling my channel's size in no time at all. So definitely go and give him a shout, or I'm giving him a shout out. Go and give him a sub. Get him to 2K. Today would be great. He's like at 1.9k, so another 100 of you, easy. There's 100 ramblers, surely. Anyway, if there are no more than 100 ramblers, then just go and give him a shout that I sent you his way. I'm sure he'll get a kick out of that. Otherwise, that's it from me. Thank you to all those Cool Kids Club's members, ramblers, that watched to the end. We'll see you on the next video. Gosh knows what that will be. The world is going to kick up some turmoil, and that's it. We'll see you then. Have a great week ahead. And as always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.